Hi, this is David Kirshner from West Hempstead Echo, and we're here doing a business interview, and I'm super excited about this interview because today we have Howard Jacobson, who's the owner of West Hempstead Pharmacy, a real fixture in the community, and welcome to Echo.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
So just diving in, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your personal background, whatever you want to tell us about, how did you get into the pharmacy business?
That's a long story. I don't know if you got the time for that, but
I was
the
Cliff Notes.
I was in college. Mm-hmm. All of my friends graduated. I was working at the local drugstore in Glen Oaks, Queens. Mm-hmm. And my mother and father cornered me, and they said, your friends are all graduating, what are you doing? And I thumped it, and I said, I'm going to go to pharmacy school. Mm-hmm. And that's really how it happened. I loved working in that pharmacy, and I saw that the pharmacists, the kind of life they had and how they interacted with the community, with our patients, how much respect they had from the elderly patients in particular, because those were my favorite people. And I was a kid, but I was able to relate to them, and I saw how much need there was for that kind of hands-on healthcare, not necessarily being a doctor or a nurse, but the pharmacist, in my eyes, is the most easily accessed healthcare professional, and I don't know if I really realized that at the time, but I felt a calling. So I went to pharmacy school. I graduated from St. John's University a couple of years late, but from there on, I was always wanting to get into my own business, to be my own boss.
So how does that? So how do you get to West Hempstead from there?
Well, now I have the pharmacy. I started in Rockville Center, and then I opened in West Hempstead about 25 years ago, and now I have about 1,000 bosses. I thought I'd be my own boss. Everybody here thinks they're my boss. No, I'm just kidding. But the truth of the matter is, there was a pharmacy here, Hahn Pharmacy, that I actually worked at when I was in pharmacy school. And I learned a hell of a lot from that owner, Mr. Liner. We called him Mr. Liner, the nicest man, and such a smart pharmacist and business owner. And I thought I would actually slide into his operation. But he wasn't ready to get out. I found my store in Rockville Center, and then we separated ways, always maintaining contact. Then he did sell that pharmacy. Evelyn, the gal who was operating it, sold out to CVS. She was actually my intern when I worked as a pharmacist at Hahn. So I have a very good knowledge of the West Hempstead Pharmacy business. Not just business, but the whole community of pharmacy in West Hempstead. I lived in West Hempstead from 1984 until 1998. So I have a ton of friends here. Shout out to the JCC of West Hempstead, now called Share Shalom. I'm still a member there. But I had a lot of friends, and when Evelyn sold the pharmacy to CVS, everybody started, actually, you call me Howard. Most people here know me as Howard, but my friends call me Jake for Jacobson. And my friends in the neighborhood said, Jake, you have to open a pharmacy in West Hempstead. We don't have any, independent pharmacy anymore. So 6 months after she closed Hahn Pharmacy, I opened at my initial location here in town. And I thought the doors were going to blow off the business. We did 3 prescriptions the first day.
Yeah. So when you first opened up, what was the vision for the pharmacy and how did it evolve over the years?
25 years ago, it was a different business model than it is today. So my vision for here was it's going to be a great addition to my pharmacy in Rockville Center. Plus, there's a need. There was a void. I'm going to fill that void. Well, to be perfectly honest, in 6 months, people find other places to go. So it was a long haul to get people to come back to the neighborhood, to continue shopping at, locally on Hempstead Avenue. But we did it. We made a business out of it. And then my landlord decided to sell our building. And I saw another building across the street, which used to be the June Claire Dance Center. And I said, you know what? This building that I was in actually was a little decrepit. That for 490 Hempstead Avenue. Plus, he wanted a lot of. It was a big ticket. I said, you know what? Let's move across. I started negotiating across the street. We purchased that building. We renovated. We made a gorgeous, light, airy, clean, fresh, well-stocked pharmacy there. And
how's business since you've moved?
I never complain about business. Business is great. I complain about my industry. It's a very difficult industry. I'm sure some of your questions may touch on what's doing in the business of pharmacy. Why are things so expensive? Why are there drug shortages? Tell me about Medicare Part D, all this you're hearing.
You can't interview yourself.
The president. Why not? Believe me, I know this business a lot better than most people do. And I can talk ad infinitum, or some people might say ad nauseum.
No, I get it.
But I know this business, so please ask me some questions.
So specifically, and as we you have a real PR background. So what do you think local pharmacies? What do you think the role of the local pharmacy is now in the community?
Well, that's a very good question, because in West Hempstead at one point we did have 3 independent pharmacies. And I'm talking about before I opened. Before I opened West Hempstead Pharmacy. We had 3 independent pharmacies, plus the chains that we had. And it was a good business. Unfortunately, there are forces that have taken over this business. They're called prescription benefit managers. Their names are Caremark, Express Scripts, and OptumRx. Pretty much anyone you speak to today, you say, take out your wallet, let me see your drug card. It has one of those names on it. And those 3 companies have gone from just doing a transaction of a claim to actually running the entire business of pharmacy. They tell the drug manufacturers what's what. They tell the insurance companies what's what. They own insurance companies. They own their own pharmacies. They pay me, yet they are also my competition. They know every claim that we dispense. Plus, they pay me, and the way they pay, it's not even enough to make a living. I'm being very honest. So the business has become a very difficult business to make a living at. And as I say, I'm not a crybaby. I go out to try and make things better. I know the only way to make things better in most businesses is either do more business or get some legislation passed that can help one's business. In my business, if we do more business, we will go out of business faster.
I understand. So just keeping on this thread, within the last few years, there have been a few pharmacies that have really just sprouted up, especially on Hempstead Avenue. Where's the business to support, and are they doing anything differently than what a traditional pharmacy is doing?
Well, I'm going to tell you, not only do I have it here, I also have the same thing going on in Rockville Center. So what is that store? First of all, the store that opened up, that was going to open up a little south of the Venus restaurant.
Yep.
That looks like it closed down.
It never got started, yeah.
Right. The signage is gone, but the shelves are still there. The other farm, then where I was located, the new landlord, when he came in, he said, "Don't worry, I'm never going to rent to another pharmacy. You stay here as long as you need until you move across the street." All of a sudden, he has a cousin that wants to open a pharmacy in my location. Why is it taking a year and a half? I know why it took me so long to open up across the way. It was during COVID, and you had to deal. I had to deal with the town of Hempstead.
Say no more.
and the fire marshal was a very big issue. So it took a long time to get those things straightened out. So we finally did, and we did it the right way. But I don't know what's actually the hang-up in my old location. Not that I even care, but heading now the other direction, heading now further north, there's that little storefront with the Venetian blinds in the front. I've drive by there every so often. I'll even knock on the door because I'm not one who says there's not enough business for people. There's plenty of business.
Yeah.
I would try to introduce myself, ask this owner or pharmacist if they would want to get involved with our organization, because we only win if we have strength in numbers. The door's always been locked. I have an idea that it's maybe just a place where they're doing some specialty medications and shipping them out of there.
Could be. I know there was a sign in one of them that they do special medications for animals or for dogs specifically. Right. I don't know.
So now that's heading even further north. The other pharmacy that opened near Sawley's.
Yeah.
That company owns another pharmacy. I believe they're in Great Neck. I'm not certain. They look like they're just a regular pharmacy. That says they do the lottery. You can buy lottery there. Right. I went in. I asked, "Can I get a lottery ticket?" No, we don't have the lottery. So I don't really know what the signs mean. Whether they're doing any compounding there. In West Hempstead Pharmacy, when I built it, I just now got my compounding room certified to do compounding.
That's great.
So we're going to start blowing that up and doing more and more compounding, whether it's for pets or for people. We're going to be doing more and more of that at West Hempstead Pharmacy.
So actually, you sort of answered my next question about what makes West Hempstead Pharmacy stand out in a crowded field. And it seems like you're always innovating, doing more things. You have Lotto also now.
We have the lottery. We're a UPS drop-off. You can get your vision test. I'm a notary. Listen, I do everything to bring people in the pharmacy. And hopefully they'll buy something. This is a tough town.
No, I get it.
It's a tough town. Listen, you asked me about those 4 or 5 other pharmacies. And then there was one on Colony. Is it Colony Street by the tattoo parlor?
Yes.
That's gone.
Yeah.
That was in the medical building, that little medical building.
Right.
That's no longer there, although I think the sign might still be there. Then, wait a minute. You said, what are they doing? I'm in this business 50 years. That was starting as a delivery boy, okay? So I look at those pharmacies and I say, here, I have a tough time making a living, honestly. I'm not killing it here. Everyone else is getting paid in the pharmacy, but it's tough. It's very hard.
Small business owner is hard.
And those prescription benefit managers, they are the reason that I cannot turn a profit there. But what are those other pharmacies doing? When I had one in Rockville Center, who's since closed down, I walked in one day to introduce myself. They had just opened. There was 50 or 60 packages stapled up, and a driver was gathering up to bring them. So what I have an idea is they either are working with a doctor, a provider, or prescriber who sends the business there from all over, because sometimes people would make a mistake and the prescription would get sent to us. The person lives in Brooklyn, they live in Queens, they live here, there. They're not necessarily satisfying the needs of the local community. We have kosher products, kosher vitamins for our kosher customers.
Great, serving the community.
And listen, pharmacy is not such a complicated business, but it is one business where 25 years ago I didn't have to be a great businessman to survive. Yeah. I've had to get smarter and better at business.
So speaking of complicated, I want to talk a little bit about privacy and concern that I have. It's sort of a phobia. I go into the pharmacy, and by the way, this is not a real case scenario. This is just me putting a hypothetical. And I say to the front person, I say, I'm picking up my medication. And they say, well, what are you picking it up for? And I say, hemorrhoid cream. And the next thing you know, that person at the front counter says, hey, does someone have the pickup for the hemorrhoid cream for so-and-so? And then the next thing you know it, they're asking me for my birth date. And then of course, there are people who are standing there. So I guess, and again, this is just me, but not an issue. How do you deal with people who have like phobias about privacy and don't want to share information and even feel uncomfortable with conversations that happen in a pharmacy? Is that a strange question?
Not at all. Let me explain something. First of all, we do HIPAA training for everybody about privacy and stuff like that. Secondly, we're not a doctor's office. Yes, it's a small space. We try to keep things toned down. And this is in any pharmacy.
Correct.
It could be at CVS, Walgreens, and our pharmacy too. We try to keep it quiet. We don't want to yell out anything. Hey, so-and-so is...
No, again, that was my fear, and it's never... As a matter of fact, it's actually the opposite when I go into your pharmacy in particular, where I just walk in, they know me, and they just go and they start the process without... And that, to me, is an amazing local business service.
Well, what I try to train my staff to just get the person's name and either address and birth date. And then if the person has questions for the pharmacist, to say, do you have any questions? Look, we're a tiny little spot. Everything is pretty condensed. But of course, privacy is a concern. We like to keep it private. And I think people today are smart enough that if they are concerned, like you might have a concern, you would come in and maybe preempt the situation and say, hey, listen, I have this little thing. I want to talk to the pharmacist about it. You go to Joanne or to whoever, Jonathan. I have two major pharmacists. Say, listen, not that it ever happened, but I have this thing. When I come in, can I just walk over here to you? Or can I just... We will work anything out for any patient.
And that's the feeling that I get, and I think residents in West Hempstead get when they come into the store, and social media has always been extremely kind to the pharmacy. So are you offering or planning to offer any new services like home delivery or personalized medical plans or wellness consultations in the future?
Well, let me say, first of all, we've been delivering to this neighborhood since I started day one. My first delivery driver was Sam from the JCC of West Hempstead. And he delivered for me until he was 85 years old.
Wow.
83 years old, something like that. He was amazing. And now I have another local resident, George, who delivers, very responsible, and deliveries has never been an issue. We're going to start the compounding here in West Hempstead. We've sourced a couple of places to get the kosher vitamins for people. If anybody's ever had a question like, is there a kosher prenatal vitamin? We research it. We do things like that. We do the lottery. I have, as I said, we're a UPS drop-off. We do the vision tests. We do notarizations by appointment. I know it sounds like I'm doing an advertising for the pharmacy. It's all on our website, even that we do it. We have online refills most of the time, unless the site screws up. But anything other than that, if people want us to have something, they can feel free to come and say, hey, I've been looking for this, or I get this over there and I'd rather get it from you. People bring those things to our attention. We're happy to do it.
So Howard or Jay.
And I don't want you to leave off. Wait a minute. There's one thing that I do want to bring up here, because I do talk to senior citizen groups. I haven't done it in West Hempstead in a while, not actually since COVID. But I was pretty active. We do vaccines, any vaccine that a pharmacist is authorized to administer, we do. But I do want to discuss, if we can, the cost of medications and why some patients get told we're not carrying that, we can't get it, your insurance isn't paying enough for it. And that goes back to the topic that I mentioned earlier, the PBMs, prescription benefit managers, they're middlemen. As President Trump said, I don't know who these middlemen are, but they're making a killing and we're going to get rid of them. Well, I don't know that we're ever going to get rid of them. They are making a killing. I'm not sure how my President Trump impersonation was, but so far I haven't seen anything done about it.
But at least he's focused on it, or at least he's mentioned it, which may be one step
it's
in
a
the right
step
direction.
in the right direction. I will agree. But the key to this is, you know that Rite Aid went out of business on Hempstead Turnpike. Now every Rite Aid is going to be closing. Every Rite Aid in the country will either be sold off or closed. There's a reason for that. They weren't a bad company. And the Rite Aid that I have across the street from me in Rockville Center has always been busy. They were there even before I was there. The pharmacists have always been friendly to me when I would call over there. And they weren't a bad operation, but the problem is, they are not part of a prescription benefit manager. They're not owning an insurance company. They don't have a mail-away facility in the middle of America that's sending prescriptions all over the country to make up for what they lose at the pharmacies. The prescription benefit managers are killing pharmacies like mine. And it's not happening slowly. It's going to be a quick death.
And if you factor in the fact that the big boys like Amazon and some of the big box stores are getting into this as well, that certainly doesn't bode well in the long term.
Mark Cuban started his online pharmacy. And his online pharmacy, if I'm not mistaken, I would have to research this, it doesn't even take insurance.
Wow.
It's just a cash model. The big box stores, their model is a little different from ours in that they'll take a loss in the prescription department because they know you're going to shop around and buy all the other stuff. Rite Aid couldn't survive like that. They had a big front in Rite Aid, but the more money they would lose in the back, it's expensive to run a prescription department. When I buy a medication, I'm sure everyone's heard of Wegovy, Mounjaro, Ozempic.
I love the commercials. I could start dancing.
They're great commercials. The problem is those drugs can cost $1,100, $1,200, $1,300. And when I dispense that medication, they might pay me for a $1,000 cost. I might get paid $948. So what is that? Am I making money on that? No, I lost $52 on that prescription.
Wow.
Eliquis, a blood thinner, cost $560. Some of the prescriptions we dispense on the Medicare Part D drug plans, we're getting paid $520. I lost $43. Now, what do? I look up your whole family, and I say, all right, Joe gets this, that, I make this. It becomes a whole numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to do. It's very hard to do. When I get that below cost reimbursement, what do? Do I tell the person I can't fill it? We used to say we can't get the medicine. It's on back order. Mm-hmm. Now we're allowed to say we're not gagged. We don't have a gag clause anymore in our contract, but we're allowed to say your insurance company's not paying me enough to carry this medication for you. What do you mean? I said, look, here's my invoice. It costs $1,000. Here's the reimbursement, $965. I lost $35. I'll pay you the $35, someone would say. By my contract, I'm not allowed to take that.
Wow.
And then if I take the $35, what does it do? I break even. Can you make a living breaking even?
I want to thank you so much for all your time. I look forward to seeing you in the store, and best of luck.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. It was a great chat.
All right, so this has been a West Hempstead Echo Pharmacy update.